Welcome to Cosmic Roadmap. I'm your host, Melissa Lambor, Reiki Astrogeo Guide and author. I support endless wanderers with where they are meant to be in the world. This podcast is for the digital nomad, the avid traveler, and aspiring globetrotter who is seeking their next destination on planet Earth. Join us as we venture around the world through people's stories and how astrogeography has connected them to their planetary energies and purpose. My special guest today is Marina Girgis. She is a brand expert helping freedom-obsessed entrepreneurs build true-to-self personal brands to grow their platforms, income, and live vivaciously. With over 5 years of sales, marketing, and design experience at companies like Estee Lauder, Victoria's Secret, and Curls beauty brands, Marina is able to create complete brands and marketing strategies that help her clients go from idea to cash in an authentic way. Marina's ultimate goal is to empower women to overcome their limiting beliefs, face their fears, tell their stories, and live more freely despite gender and cultural norms. Thank you so much for being on today. We were connected through a friend of a friend, Liz Jones, who referred you to do an Astrogeo session with me. And I'm so blessed that we were connected since you're a digital nomad and I'm about to step into becoming a digital nomad. Thank you for being on today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Melissa. Thank you.
Yes, it's been beautiful to witness you on social media, your highs and your lows as a digital nomad. So thank you so much for being so honest. But how has your life been since our Astrogeo session a few months ago? I know that you were in Ecuador and now you're in Brazil. So how has that been? What cosmic connections have you had in your everyday life and also in your travels?
Yeah, actually, it's funny how I landed on you and this whole like Astrogeo thing because I've been like traveling for 7 years and I love astrology, but I didn't know there was such a thing as
Geography.
astrogeo, like the
Right.
astrology of traveling. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until recently someone mentioned something, and me being a Scorpio, I love to dig and find things out. So I
Yeah.
started like digging and asking everyone because I didn't know if like I'm on the right path or like I should go to all these places that I want to go to. I was tired of some places being like that felt very karmic, like Colombia, and we discussed this on our session. And then Ecuador was super quiet for me. So I was like, what is going on? How do I go from something so chaotic, like that, like really feels like very karmic, to something so quiet and calming? And that's how I ended up searching for this and then ended up finding you, Melissa, which was really cool. But in terms of my life ever since, so Ecuador was so calm for me. It was almost like an opportunity for me to tie loose ends, work on myself, prepare myself for where I am right now. So when we had our session, you had mentioned that my sun line, which is huge, right?
Yeah.
It goes through here, and the sun is my brand
Through
symbol.
Brazil, right? Yes. Which was like related to like future and
Oh,
career when you look at the different aspects of each planet. So it makes sense that you were called
yeah.
to this place.
No, that's insane because while I was in Ecuador, I got a sun tattoo, and it's
Wow.
like the symbol that I use for my brand. It's everything that's
Yes.
including in my branding, my messaging. And a lot of people are like, "You remind me of the summer." And I'm like, what is a better place to embrace the summer other than like Rio de Janeiro in Brazil? When you told me that, I was like, wow, affirmation here. I need to go there. Of course, it's been a little bit like different because going from somewhere like Ecuador, and I think when we talked, you told me that Ecuador had one line and it was like further away and it was more.
You have Jupiter energy there. So that is all about luck
Yeah.
and ease. And it was AC. So it was
Mhm.
related to self. So a lot of ease with
Wow.
yourself, like really, yeah, the fact that you were like feeling into like more self-care, that all made sense. And yeah, I remember watching all your stories where you were going into the mountains, right? But you were near the shore. That's where you were really doing a lot of
For the
like,
most part.
yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible because I didn't expect that. And it all made sense when you told me. And like, as soon as I came to Brazil, and Melissa, I share on my stories a lot. And as you said, like, I share the good and the bad. I'm so open about it because I don't want people to think this is a glamorous life. I'm doing it because I really connect with being a full-time traveler. Like that's how I see myself. Like I'm just a forever nomad. And I've never had like roots. Like I was born in Egypt, raised in Kuwait, immigrated to the US, you know? It's really interesting because as soon as I came here, I've had a lot of people say, "Oh my God, we can feel Brazil energy from your stories." And I was like, what does that even mean? What shifted like for others? And it's amazing how I have shifted like my energy and not who I am, but a bit of what I project to kind
Right.
of fit the sun, you know, like
Yes.
this like vivaciousness, this like activity, like I'm more active. I've been like working out more, walking more,
Wow.
being outside more, even like wanting to party. I actually in Ecuador have probably partied like once, but here I'm just have this desire of being so social and seen. And I know the sun, as you
And
explained to me, is
it's
about
all
being
about being
seen.
seen. It's like the spotlight
Yeah.
on you, right? And
Yeah.
and you're really enjoying that, which is good because some people
Yeah.
they may want to retreat and maybe Ecuador may be that place for you, right? To retreat and just relax.
Mhm.
But yeah, full on spotlight on you.
Yeah. Melissa, there has been moments when I was like, I don't want the spotlight. And I blend in, like physically, how I look, I blend in Brazil. So I don't stand out in any way, which is cool. But I still get like eyes. I still get eyes on me, which is so different because I felt so invisible in Ecuador, which is nice for a little bit. But like here, it's just, I feel like seen. And there are moments when I'm like, I don't want to make that many friends. I don't want to have that many love interests. I don't want these things.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, but it's fun. I haven't had that in a while. So I've been more flirty too. I have not gone
That's a good
out
thing.
on dates in Ecuador. And same with Colombia. I didn't really feel like an interest in also like romantically exploring. And
Yeah.
here I've just been so
Up
open
in
to it. And
up
like,
in
yeah.
Colombia, you had, let me see, you had Saturn energy and also Pluto energy. So Pluto is all about that
Ugh.
transformation, working through those shadows. And I think you told me about a love interest that was very
Oh my God.
transformational.
All of it happened there. Every time I've been to Colombia, it's been 3 times. It's either a breakup or a new person that just doesn't work out. Something major usually
Right.
happens over there.
And the
But yeah.
Saturn energy too, which is all about that discipline.
Hmm.
Have it's more about the self-discipline for you in that particular region. So yeah, it was less about romantic and more about focusing on yourself. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I even tried to go on a few dates when I was there, and either the other person got sick or I got sick. I always get sick in Colombia for some reason. And it's not like food poisoning or anything. It's just like somehow I end up getting sick and I couldn't go out on any dates. Like it wasn't working out.
The universe is
It's
like,
like
no,
universe is
it's
like,
not.
no.
It's not gonna
Exactly.
happen. Like, let me save you from the disaster.
I think so. It's like, nah, bitch, you gotta work on yourself.
Oh my gosh. And what happened up in Mexico? I know that you mentioned a little bit of, I think in Oaxaca, right? Like the coast of Oaxaca for your business. In that particular region, you also had sun energy, which is very similar to the
Yeah.
sun energy that you have in Brazil, but in a lesser, it's a minor line. But you did have that energy there. So how did you feel there?
It felt less chaotic than how I feel in Brazil. And it just felt really pleasant. I loved my time in Oaxaca. I was doing a lot of self introspection. I was traveling with a friend and we connected on such a deep level. And she introduced me to tarot. And like at that time, I was journaling a lot. I started like dressing different. Like, I don't know, like, there was like an identity shift when I was there,
Almost like what's
and
happening in
people could
Brazil,
see it.
but in a lesser sense,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was like a much calmer one. At that time, I was in a relationship. It was different, like, and it was like still the heat of COVID. So I wasn't really going out much or anything like that. It was really about just being at the beach and like working on my business. But I was so creative. And like I remember at that time also like I was getting asked to be interviewed on like I did a panel with the world tourism network at that time. I was invited to another like podcast. Like I had just so many invitations, and even my posts were getting shared and liked and things like that. And that was really like kind of like everything felt good when I was there, you know?
Right. And it makes sense
Yeah.
also that you have your moon node there, which is related to purpose.
Mm.
So purpose with yourself. So yeah, you were tapping like deeper and deeper into your purpose. Is that kind of where your business started, or where did it
Mm,
officially start?
Um, Actually, that was one of the first places that I went when I decided I want to try traveling with my business. Actually, yeah, November 2020, I went there and I did a month there with a friend of mine, and we were just like in Airbnbs because it was still like, I think vaccination wasn't even like available to all at that time.
Yeah.
No, it was so different traveling at that time. It just feels like I'm talking about history, you know?
No.
Those back in
I
the
know,
day,
we're
it
like,
was so
wait, was that
difficult.
a year ago? You're like, no, that was 3.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Honestly, Melissa, like that just put things into perspective because that was the first place I was like, I want to go somewhere, but I don't want to go too far away. I want to go somewhere where I can just get some Airbnbs and not have to stay with a lot of people and still be very conscious of everything that's happening. Remember, even I was wearing masks at the beach. Like I was still like so scared because I was in New York when everything happened.
Yes.
It was so terrifying. But no, that was the first place I went with my business after it felt a little bit stable. And that's when things started to pick up. And I remember, I think November was my highest earning month actually in that year.
Amazing.
I
So
think
that
I
was
went over like,
when you were down there in Oaxaca.
yeah, I've
Mhm.
doubled what I made that month specifically, that in December, which was really weird. I almost forgot about this. So thank you for bringing that up. It's like almost like a celebration of that time too, and remembering, that I was able to do that. That was a good thing to, to take
Yeah, no,
yourself back a
I
little bit.
remember how excited you got when I went over to Oaxaca and you were like, yes, that's where, that was
Yes.
like the best time in my business. I remember that clearly
Yeah.
from our session. And yeah, go back a little bit further. So you were in New York. I know that you started out in fashion. Can you talk a little bit about that and like where your roots started and then, how you got
Yeah.
into branding?
Yeah, actually, I went to university in North Texas, so
Okay.
in Denton, and
Oh,
I did fashion there.
okay,
Yeah,
cool.
because my parents immigrated to Texas when we moved to the
Uh-huh.
US. And what do I have in Texas?
I'm
I don't
just
think
looking
I've
at
ever
that.
listed.
It's actually the same line that you have in Oaxaca. It's the sun line related to
You
your
know what?
future.
I think if I hadn't moved to the US, and specifically at that time, I just was like, why are we moving to Texas? Like, I want to go to California or
Right.
New York. Like,
Yeah.
but my parents were like, we're immigrating, we're filing for asylum. You don't have a say in this. And I was like, okay,
It's
cool.
like wherever they'll
So I
take us.
accepted. Yeah. I was like, okay, I'll accept Texas. I learned to love Texas, not because I actually like being there. I think it's boring, but it has allowed me to really start becoming the person that I want to become.
Yeah.
And I put together being an immigrant at age 19 and going to starting over with university. I had already done 3 years when I was in Egypt in visual arts, actually. And when I moved to Texas, I was like, you know what? If we're starting over, I'm starting all the way over. I'm going to go into fashion school. I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to reinvent myself, basically. So it was almost like finding my freedom
Mm.
at that time because I had to like, I made my choice about what I wanted to study. I moved away from home for the very first time ever. I made my first dollar by myself. And it was just so amazing to start becoming this independent, vivacious woman that I wanted to become, but didn't know how to where I was before. And that's why in my business, I really center saying, like, when I say gender and culture and norms, I'm really talking about people have no opportunities at all to be themselves. So, like, it's being in Egypt was not, I never saw the life that I'm living right now.
Right.
So,
And it was
and you know,
nice.
Melissa, because you've been
Yeah.
in Egypt.
I visited about, it must have been like 6 months, yeah, before we had our session. I had been in Egypt July to August. So yes, I definitely was up against the patriarch in Egypt.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's like a whole other level,
You
right?
know,
Like over there, it's
when
like
I was there, it was interesting because I've been to other Muslim countries. I've been in Malaysia, Indonesia,
mhm,
and Malaysia was completely different. When I was in Egypt, I wanted to be in Malaysia at that very moment because I felt so much freer there. I did feel like a
mm,
heaviness in Egypt as I was going through as a single woman, right? Like going backpacking. So I did feel a heaviness as I went through the country. So
it's heavy.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
definitely understand like you trying to break free and you connecting with the sun energy where it's allowing you to become
Hmm.
more of what Marina is, right? Deep inside.
Yeah.
So I love that. And in New York, you had moon node energy. So that is all about your purpose and unlocking your purpose. So is that where you
Mhm.
started your fashion brand?
Yeah, so actually I started it when I was in Texas. It's funny because I actually shared a post today about like my journey, and I said something about how while I was there, I decided that I'm gonna give myself the title that I wanted. So
Mm.
I created, like, printed some cards that said like designer and creative director, and I went around like sourcing like photographers and models, and I was shooting my collection. I was creating designs and doing that. And then I decided I'm going to move to New York after graduating. And when I moved, it wasn't for the intention of starting my own brand just yet. I wanted an experience in corporate with another brand to see how things work. So I ended up landing like a big job when I was there, but I moved without the job. But honestly, Melissa, it was the most, I think, chaotic time of my life because it was so shifting. And it's interesting to know that I had moon there because I
Was
actually
moon
had a
node for
seizure.
so your purpose. So this was more about
Oh,
like tapping
okay.
into your purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I actually
Mhm.
struggled a lot with my health while I was there. So I had a
Okay.
seizure when I went there, like
Wow.
first time ever, like at 25. And like
Yeah.
everyone's like, okay, we don't know where this came from. It never happened again, but it was like a one-time thing. I think I was so like stressed and overwhelmed. I really did not like the job that I had. So actually, I think around 9 months in, I decided I don't want this life anymore. So I quit and I started freelancing and stuff, and that's when I started like actually my business as a platform first. So I didn't
Mhm.
think I want to do branding or anything like that. So I started living vivaciously as a platform for the purpose of helping women see that there's an alternative way to live life. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to figure it out. I don't have money just yet, but
Yeah.
it will come. I know it will come. I figured it out at 19 when I was in Texas. I can figure it out now. So I just started like building the platform, but that's when COVID hit. So I was like, maybe, I don't know, I started living vivaciously, I think August 2019.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, like a few months, yeah, right before COVID started creeping along.
Yeah, no, because I was like, oh my God, and like I was
Yeah.
looking for jobs and nothing was working out because, I was like, okay, this brand that I started is still not bringing me any money. So I needed jobs. And I was like, later, it made sense why I didn't get any jobs. I mean, it would not have made sense to get a job at that
To
time.
stay
But like a
there.
few months later, yeah,
Exactly. Because you were living in Brooklyn at the time.
I was living
And
in
uh,
Williamsburg.
okay. Yeah, because everything was pretty much shutting down. Like, yeah, like in
Totally.
March, like you were sent home. But yeah, that makes complete sense that you started that platform. You were, I'm guessing, blogging on the.
Yeah. So, so I was blogging. I was doing videos. I was just creating content at that time. And my plan to make money was like I was reaching out to brands. I was like creating content for brands, and yeah, I was like, I'll figure it out. And I created like a packing list, and like I created a bunch of like weird things at that time.
Yeah.
It was until I think it was February. Actually, it's funny because like it was right before the pandemic. I ran across this career coach and business coach on Instagram. And they really connected with her at that time. I was like sharing every post, liking everything. And one day I was just like, hey, can I take you out for a coffee?
Right.
And she was like, all right, let's do it. And we instantly connected. And I mean, that was, I think, February or January.
Yeah.
And she was like, Marina, you have a lot of experience in sales, marketing, and branding. why don't you do that as an extension of your business? And I was like, duh, you're right. So then I started doing coaching with her. And it's
Mm,
funny because it happened right before. So February, we actually shot some videos together. I ended up interviewing her.
yeah.
And then March, we're like, okay, everyone stay home.
She based in New
Yeah,
York. So it's, yeah,
yeah.
it just makes complete sense. It was like you were on like pretty much
Mhm.
removing those layers until you found your deeper purpose.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, seriously, it was amazing because all she did was also bring that out. It's like, see yourself, see the things that you already have that you can utilize building your brand and business. So,
Exactly, because
yeah,
you were probably like, oh, I need to become bigger. I need to make this different, but not looking at your own skills at the time. So when did it
yeah.
actually, is that when it shifted into like brand, like coaching for branding, or when was that major shift?
Yeah, actually, it was so basically, I was doing what I was doing up until probably May in terms of like creating content, just doing different things, like trying out everything. And I started introducing coaching. I think it was April. I actually started just putting out, I have free discovery calls. I remember my calendar was completely like I had 60 people jump on my discovery calls. I was like, where are you coming from?
Yeah.
Do you all need help with your
Right.
brand? But oh my God, I learned so much because it like just helped me. Like I was writing down every person's like
Mm,
pain point. Like I was really so excited. But at that time, I actually decided to go back to Texas to stay with my parents during the pandemic because they have a house. I felt they have a car, blah, blah, blah. I felt safer there. So I
exactly.
decided to leave New York to go to Texas and focus on just building the business. So, and I was
In your
working with
sunline.
my coach. Yes, it was so interesting because I did feel so seen at that time. I started getting, oh my God, it was only like a few months in, and I started getting like clients, like people just asking, like, hey, I know this person that wants help with their social media. And at that time, I was like doing everything. I was like, yeah, I'll take on everyone, I'll do everything, just like seeing if this is going to even work. I was getting brand partnerships too. Like, I was getting stuff from like beauty and I was doing like stuff for travel and I was also doing branding and social
Right.
media. And I was just like, yay, I get to do everything that I want. But it wasn't until I started to dig deeper into what I really wanted to do. And I kept connecting it back to why I actually started living vivacious, to help people live vivaciously,
Mm,
especially women, to know that there are alternatives. So I was like, what makes the most sense is actually helping people tell their story, helping people figure out what they're good at, and helping them cultivate that. And I was like, my coach was like, you're naturally good at guiding people. So try it out. And I was like, all right. So I put out an hour coaching calls at that
right.
time and I got a few people in and then I turned it into a program. I got a few people in and I was like, all right, things are going here. It's working. And
Yeah.
I quickly started like making just as much as I made in corporate. I think in like my first year I made what I made in corporate. My second year I made like probably 20% more. And I was like,
Wow.
honestly, Melissa, I didn't have income goals and it just
It was just flowing.
happened.
Yeah.
Opportunities were just coming. Yes, because I was really in love and with what I was doing. I was just so excited. Like I didn't really think about the money that much anymore at that point, you know?
That's so beautiful. And then when was that point where I'm like, oh, I want to start traveling. I want to be a digital nomad because was that
Yeah.
Mexico when you finally went down there?
I had to go back to New York because I still had my apartment and I had that relationship over there. I wanted to go back and be with the person and just figure out what I'm going to do with my apartment. So I stayed in New York for a few months. I broke my lease and that was a really hard decision. I was like, okay, I need to get rid of this apartment, can't pay for it anymore. And I don't want to be in New York. This was really hard to decide too, because especially when you're in a relationship, but I felt like I had nothing, New York had nothing else to give me. Like I've done the work, I've learned the lessons, I've worked on myself, I've worked on my business. I felt like it was time to explore. So I actually made a compromise with my partner at that time. And we ended up going to trying out. I was like, okay, my business is like doing okay now. It feels stable. And this is also the advice that I give everyone wanting to be a digital nomad, their business is make sure that you have systems, that you have stability in the business first. By stability, like you have a program or a service that continuously brings you money. You have a few maybe freelance clients that our own retainer, because this helped me not worry about getting new clients and I could slow down a bit and enjoy my travels. But because traveling takes a lot of our energy, right?
Because otherwise you'd be constantly promoting yourself and worried,
Mhm.
like, hey, are they feeling what I'm putting down? Or like, yeah.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm actually curious about New Orleans and what I have there. My favorite city in the US, and I've been 3 times, actually 3 or 4 times, and I lived there for a month,
Yeah,
but
your
like
moon
we
node
went
there.
there.
Your moon node. So your
Oh,
purpose.
is it the same as New York
That one is
then?
actually, no, actually, New York City had Pluto energy. So that makes sense why it was so transformative related to your
Mhm.
career. Around the Boston
Wow.
area, that's where you have some moon node energy. But yeah, down in Louisiana, New Orleans, you have moon node related to self. So really tapping into
Mm.
yourself. What did you feel down there?
If you put me in a place where there's music and
Yep.
colors and sun, I'm just like the most excited human ever. So I was like, every time I walked out of the house, I just felt excited. Like it could be any day of the week. I was just, I don't know, I felt this like beauty around me and within me. And that was really nice. And also, that is when things like shift and there's newness. It's a chaotic, but there's newness. And I am a double Aries, like moon and rising. So I feel it
Lots
even
of
more.
fire.
Yeah, lots of fire. And it so happened that it was April when
Mhm.
we went there and stayed for a month. And I just remember I hired a new person, I hired a new coach. I was like doing like this Instagram series on live, and it was so successful. I got a few deals. Actually had an opportunity to speak at YouTube. So I did like my biggest speaking engagement, and I was like charging a lot of money, and I was like, money's flowing, everything is like happening. It was like insane, but everything was just, there's this like
Yeah.
jazzy energy like in my life. And I loved it. And then New Orleans is always just so fun for me.
And that's the same energy that you have through Oaxaca. So the same moon node energy, that purpose energy.
How insane is that? Oh my God. Okay, everyone listening needs to go and do a session now. Like, I wish I knew that before, but like, it also shows that we innately know these things as
Mhm.
well. Like, deep down, we know. And like, I thought it was the craziest thing sometimes that I go places that are like people love, okay? Like people love Spain. I could not stand Spain. I mean, Portugal was a little bit better, but in Spain, oh my God, I felt like my whole life was being torn apart. I don't know what do I have there, but like it was like so uncomfortable for me being there, even though it's such a beautiful city. I just could not do it.
Yeah, you
And
have
I did like 6.
where were you in Spain? Where in particular?
So everything kind of like that's like down.
In the
So
southern
I
region,
did,
like Andalusia,
yeah,
like
I did Andalusia, and I did Barcelona,
Barcelona.
and I did above Barcelona. There's a place like a beach town. What is it called? I forgot. Oh God, I forgot. But it was like right above Barcelona. There's like a
Yeah,
beach town.
so that region you do have disharmonious. So it's a square energy for moon node. So it makes sense that with
Hmm.
your purpose, like it was going against your purpose. So difficulties with tapping into your purpose. And then the other
Oh yeah, I
energy,
didn't want to do any work
yeah.
when I was
All
there.
along that coast, you have that disharmonious energy. So it makes
Oh my
sense.
God.
And then disharmonious Pluto energy, which is all about transformation, like working with your shadows. So there's probably a lot of that
I did.
in the northern region, yeah, down into the Lucia, and a lot of healing
I
with
definitely did.
others.
Okay, Melissa, it's interesting that you said with others because there was a significant relationship in my life at that time. And that was like, it was completely like, I wouldn't say ruined, but like basically we were each other's like shadows. We were each other's mirror. It's like almost like that person was put into my life to travel with me through Spain and Portugal to show me so many things in me that are either toxic or my shadows or that need working on. And it was the most uncomfortable thing I've done in my life. It helped me a lot because I feel so much lighter now. But it was like all at once, plus the traveling. It was just, oh my God. I legit didn't want to work, and my business was going. I still had clients and everything, but I didn't want to do anything else. It just felt like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to do anymore because I was working a lot on the self, but it wasn't even in a pleasant way. Ecuador was very pleasant in terms of working on the self, but Spain, no. But actually, Granada was the only place where I felt like a little bit more joyful and like
Okay.
myself.
Oh, Granada, you have your
Yeah.
moon energy there, and that's moon energy for the future, like career. So it makes sense that you felt more
Mhm.
grounded in that particular region. Yeah, that's the only
Yeah.
place, Granada, and like near Bilbao, like in the northern region. Yeah, you have some Jupiter energy up there. Did you feel anything in Madrid?
I didn't go.
Oh, you didn't go.
So I
Yeah,
wasn't there.
your Jupiter
Yeah.
energy goes right through Madrid. So that's more ease and
Wow.
more abundance. But yeah, for next time, if you do go back.
Exactly. So Spain is not
Which
completely ruined
I
for
know,
me.
right? So this is a good segue. So where do you see yourself going now that the energies that you have around, where are those places that are calling you based on the knowledge that you have of your astro geo?
Yeah, I mean, I've been like thinking a lot about where would be like a good base for me because I go back and forth about I bought a place for 6 months. Rio is stunning, but in terms of safety, it doesn't feel that safe. So I'm like
Yeah.
reconsidering like if that's a place I want to be here long term. But I'm actually going to Peru next, and I think you had mentioned some good energy near Peru. I'm doing a yoga teacher training there actually. And I chose Peru because I think there was something that you said in our
You
session, and
you
I was
do
like, okay, it
have
makes sense.
sun energy there as well. So that would be
Mm,
sun for self, like for yourself.
mm.
And that goes through like the Amazon area and also in between Lima and Cusco. Where's your
Yeah,
yoga training?
it's in like the Sacred Valley, like Cusco,
In the Cusco
basically.
area. So
Yeah.
that one, yeah, you have
Mhm.
Chiron energy for self. So that's healing. So a lot of healing. You have that
Oh,
sun
that's
energy.
nice.
Yeah, and also, yeah, you have your moon node, which is your purpose right through that same region. So the Sacred Valley region, Arequipa, and also Lake Titicaca, which is between Peru and Bolivia.
Mhm.
So that would be another amazing place that you could visit to tap into your purpose for your
Yeah.
future, for your business. Yeah, a lot of good energy, healing, and also purposeful.
Yeah, I remember there was a lot of energy around the lake, and you had mentioned that, and I was like, I need to go there. I was like, okay, so if I'm going to Peru, then I'm doing like a yoga teacher training, and I've always just wanted to do one. My intention is not at the moment to be a yoga teacher, but I wanted to kind of do this training for like self-discipline and healing and understanding how to deal with other people as well in that way. So I'm excited to do that and feel the Chiron energy
Yes, it's yeah,
there.
the
Yeah.
wounded healer. So it's about healing
Yeah.
and for yourself. So I love that. So how can people work with you? You've already mentioned your branding, coaching. What are the programs that you have available and how can people work with you and work with your magic?
First step, connect with me on Instagram because I'm super active there and
Mhm.
the stories is where it's at.
Yes.
Melissa knows.
She lives in her stories.
Yes. No, stories are so fun. I actually have my signature program, which is like a 12-week program where I basically guide people through their brand, helping them either relaunch or rebrand or start all over again or from scratch with the ideas that they have. So I help them basically imagine the life that you want and see the alternatives for yourself, envision that. So we go through vision mapping all the way through your messaging, your branding, your services, and all the way to launching and content and marketing and sales. So it's a very like holistic, comprehensive 12-week journey basically. And I have a wait list up for it. Like usually I don't have the dates because I flow.
Yep.
But it seems like we're leaning towards the summer, end of summer. So if that's something you're interested in, joining the wait list gives people like a discount, a big discount. Feel free to connect with me on Instagram and join the wait list and
Yeah.
stay tuned. I have some master classes coming up and other things.
Amazing. And you have an amazing newsletter so you can connect through there
Yes,
and all the
thank you.
articles and blog posts that you have on your website. Yeah,
All the free resources. Yeah, I have new
exactly.
freebies coming too. So
Ooh,
this all has been in the works here in Brazil too. So it's really nice
no,
to like action new
just
things.
keep taking in that sun energy.
Yes, it's like what else? What else? I'm so overwhelmed, but
I
like
know. right, amazing. So thank you so much for being on. Definitely connect with Marina. All her links will be down below in the show notes. But yeah, remember, lineage goes beyond your ancestors. You are meant to connect to the cosmos so you may finally find your cosmic family. Until next time. Thank you for listening to Cosmic Roadmap. If you're curious about astrogeography and where you're meant to be on the planet, go to cosmicroadmap.com to download your free passport to purpose. You can also book a session with me where we can explore your own cosmic roadmap and chart your next destination in business, love, and life.